I like to think I'm a person with high agency, who likes to think individually and have his own kind of opinions. And you see, coming from an Asian household, that can cause a bit of an issue. You see, my parents always wanted me to follow this certain path that everyone else has followed, all their kids have followed, and they've all gone down, done school, done well in school, gone down, gone to uni, and all these kind of things. And just the way that they should act, and the way that the things that they should do, how should they dress, they should eat, the friends they should have, it's always been marked out. So you can see how it can become a problem in an Asian household when I'm thinking individually and I have my own opinions that I don't agree with the paths that they have. That can cause a lot of arguments, a lot of misconduct, resentment in the household. So I used to be a person that was really aggressive, really argued a lot every time my point was taken to the other side because I just thought the other person wasn't thinking logically at all. It's a couple months back this year. I'm walking out the gym and I'm going to the car. My mum's come to pick me up. I sit in the car and my mum's looking at me. She asked me why I finished my session so late. Usually the way I would have reacted is saying, oh, it's not that deep, or it's like, oh, I don't know, I just got there a bit late. And then she would start saying, oh, an argument would stop, basically. But today was different. I just looked at her and I paused and I said, my bad, I'm sorry. Then she let her guard down and she started saying, no, it's not like that, but I mean, it's just getting a bit late, so you have to get to sleep and stuff like that. And then the conversation ended there. I changed from being this aggressive, argumentative person to someone who's able to end conflict before it even happened. And you've clicked on this video and I'm guessing what happens to you is that you go home, you have arguments with your parents, with your friends. That's something that you don't want to do. Because you know it's draining, you know it's tiring, and you know it causes resentment. And I'm glad you've clicked on this video as a way to try solve that. So if you relate to my weirdly traumatic childhood experiences and this self-improvement stuff that you're starting right now, click on the subscribe and the post notification so you can see more videos like this and I can continue to teach you about all these kind of things. So it's a win-win for both of us. So I have 3 ways to genuinely try stop arguments. One of them will stop it before it even happens, and the other 2 will stop them while it's happening. So the first one, which is stopping it before it even happens. So you have to avoid the argument altogether. And you might be wondering, how the hell do I do that? And I'll tell you right now. Say someone says something. You're sitting at the dinner table. Someone says something that they believe to be true, but you know for a fact it's not the truth. You've searched up on your phone in secret and you've figured out that what they're saying isn't true. Now you feel the need to pipe up and tell them, you're wrong. Now I'm going to give you 2 situations, the way that this could go. Say you do pipe up and say they're wrong. They'll say back at you, if they have true belief that they're right, no, there's this. And you say, no, there's this. And then one of you will end up asking someone, and then this, and then you've ruined the entire scenario. Now let's look at the other situation where you simply just don't say anything. He's gone up, he said something, and everyone's agreed. Conversation continues, you move on. He said his point, done. Everyone's in a good mood, no resentment, no condemnation. You all move on. Why is this situation better? Because when that person got up to speak and say his point, he didn't ask you to pipe up and say that he was wrong. He didn't ask you for your opinion or to say something against him. So why are you deciding to get up and do that? What gives you the privilege to do that? So sit down, just accept what he's saying, and if he's really wrong, you'll eventually find out at some point. And if so, you can say that to him, not in front of the dinner table or at some other point. It's easy as that. Avoid the argument altogether in whatever situation you're in. It's genuinely like the same thing about avoiding a fight. Whenever you can. You avoid the argument whenever you can. We're simply not piping up. If they say something, they say a point, just don't say anything. Let them speak it out. And then continue the conversation the other way. Now moving on, this is the next one. This is when you're in an argument. Say you've started the argument by accident. You haven't followed the first point, the argument started. I want you to understand that agreement ends conflict. Let me repeat that to you, right? Agreement ends conflict. I want you to really get that in your head. Okay, agreement ends conflict. So that means that when you agree to the other person's point, you have no argument. You can do this to deal with a lot of hate that you might get from, say, your school friends or people that you know around you, or even online. Someone says something about you, and you simply just agree. And someone says to me, Vance, you're out of shape. Yeah, you're right, man. And? Now what? It's like, there's nothing you can do moving on from that point. The other dark side of this concept is that if they say something about you to cause an argument, and it hurts you, what they're saying might be true, and you need to ask yourself if that's true. And the best way to describe it is that how do you respond to the truth? By agreeing to it. So if you agree to whoever it is that's trying to start a conflict with you, you end the argument altogether. Now the third point, this is the hardest one, the most important one to follow. And this is letting your ego fall. See, everyone has this ego. If you have this point that you want to get and it gets proved wrong by someone else, or there's friction against people agreeing against it, you're going to feel bad. And no matter who wins the argument, no one wins. Because there's always resentment. There's always hate from the other side. So how do you avoid that? How do you let your ego fall? So simply, if you've done something wrong, but you don't believe it's wrong, right? You don't want to apologize for something that you didn't do. But say you don't believe it's wrong, and another person says it does. You have to ask yourself the question, was I wrong here? And actually think of that. You have to do that in dialogue with yourself and actually imagine that. And when you do that, you have to answer the question, were you wrong? And if you were, apologize. Let your ego fall. Say sorry. But if you're right, you don't have to apologize. But you can simply just slowly bring the argument down. You can say, I understand your point. I understand your point of view. That's very, very true. But this. If anything, you don't even have to use but. You have to add on to their thoughts. Use and. Say, this is this. I understand this. I think you're saying this. And this is why I did this. And then that can help them to understand, right? You see, there's this really, really good line that will destroy every argument, that you can use in every argument from now on. And it's from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I want you to use this line. It's that, I understand where you're coming from. Because if I was in the same position as you, I would feel the same way. So I don't blame you one bit. And then you say your point. So those three things I said, those three lines, if you say those, it brings up a common ground. It makes the other person feel like they're being listened to, that they're being heard, and that they're being validated for how they feel. And then you bring your point in, and they're most likely to understand if you do it like that. So I feel like that's the most important point. I feel like that's the most important point that you can take from this video. That 3-step guide, simply just ending arguments. It will end every argument that comes to you, as long as you understand the other person's viewpoint. And say you come to a misunderstanding. Say the entire argument was that you both misunderstood each other. This is where you ought to let your ego fall. Both of you were wrong. So both of you are going to apologize. If they don't apologize, be the bigger person. Apologize. And it's okay if they don't, because you know that you apologize for a mistake that you made, and you make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. So those are the ways to genuinely stop an argument. So I hope this can stop you from having arguments with your friends and your parents in general about anything. So thank you for listening. Go get it.